Today's postcard is from the county of Essex, and we're here in Colchester at the castle. You know, Julia, I know of Colchester. I think of it very much as a Roman town.
Yes.
The Chester at the end always is a giveaway, isn't
That's
it?
right.
I think of Queen Boudica.
Yes.
But I never ever think of it having a castle. Why? Because there's Romans, there's Boudica, there's everything else. There should be a castle, shouldn't there?
Yes,
and
indeed.
here it is.
Yes.
Tell us
Fabulous,
about
isn't
it. It is.
Well, you're quite right, of course. Colchester starts off as a Roman town. There was a colonia here called Colonia Claudia, which was superseded by Colonia Victricensis, another Roman settlement that was on this site. When the Romans left after 350 years, the temple that they had built on this site was left to fall into ruin.
There's a temple here, were there? Of course, with the Romans.
And the foundations
Yes.
of this castle are the foundations of the Roman Temple of Claudius.
Oh, right.
It's a prime building site, and the Normans, when they arrived, they came straight here. This is, for Essex, this is high. So this was a nice high site with a beautiful view for miles and miles around. And they were looking for good sites to build their stone castles. And they found the podium, the flat bit that the temple was built on, that was still here, covered in rubble and 350 years of rubbish.
Gosh.
So they cleared all that. And then on top and around, wrapped around the base of the temple, they built their Norman keep. And that's why our Norman keep is the largest Norman keep the Normans ever built, because they started with this temple base.
I see, because it is absolutely huge and it's very square.
Yes, it is.
And lots of castles and places you go to seem to have round bits.
We have got a rounded apse on this end,
Round that corner
if you can
there.
see. And if you go up inside the castle to the crypt and to the chapel, that apse is at the end of the chapel, which often you find in chapels. You have the apsidal end where the altar would be. It's the same design as the White Tower at the Tower of London.
Ah, there is a similarity.
Absolutely.
Very
The
much
ground
so.
plans are almost the same, except that ours is much bigger, and ours was built first.
So now we've got this beautiful relic of the past, British history, Essex history,
Yes.
Colchester's history. How did it get then these very un-Norman windows and the dome on the top?
Right, yes, well spotted. It's certainly unusual for a castle to have these large windows. The castle was the property at one time in the 18th century of Sir Charles Grey, who was MP for Colchester. He actually acquired the castle as a wedding gift from his mother-in-law. It was very fashionable in the 18th century to have a folly in your garden, and he actually lived in the Holly Trees house just over the side of the park.
Oh, is that there? The red brick house
The Red
there?
Georgian house there.
Right.
That's Holly Trees house. That's now a museum as well, but it was lived in by Charles Grey and his wife. So this was in his back garden, basically. This was his folly.
Gosh.
He was a very well-travelled man. He'd been to Italy and he'd seen lots of Roman buildings, and he thought, because of, you can see the preponderance of red brick in the walls, he thought this was a Roman building, a Roman castle. So that's why we've got these red roof tiles, and why the little cupola that he put on to protect the great staircase is also roofed in red tiles, because he thought it was Roman. Because all these red, can you see these beautiful stacks up on the corner here?
Yes,
they
yes.
are Roman. They're certainly Roman, and they were recycled by the Normans, who found all this stuff just laying around the ancient town, gathered it all up and reused it. There's no building stone in Colchester. If you're going to build a stone castle, you've got to import it all, or you've got to recycle what's already here.
So if he hadn't have come along and done this, it would now perhaps just be a ruin?
It's quite possible. It's quite possible, because prior to Charles Grey owning it, it was owned by a man called John Wheely, who was a typical Essex wheeler dealer, basically. And he thought,
John Wheely.
I'll have this. He bought it for about £110, and he decided to knock it down and flog it for building stone, basically. So he started at the top, which is why it's not as high as it probably should have been originally. And he stripped out all the really nice stone that had been imported from France, and he sold it. Luckily, he went bankrupt before he could destroy any more of the castle, so we have this bit preserved. But if he hadn't gone bankrupt and then Charles Grey hadn't taken the steps he did to preserve it, we'd be greatly at a loss, I think.